Welcome to our second video on the first 20 turn series for the Shadow and the Blade DLC. If this is your first time tuning into these videos, essentially the way I cover them is that the first 20 turns of anyone's campaign for any character are generally pretty similar. So in this video, which differs obviously from my campaign overview video, I'm going to go into some strategies and tactics that make a lot of sense, or ones that I have at least seen to really work to great effect. First, let's start this out with a big shout out to Lore Master of Sotek. He helps me out with these videos because he is an amazing campaign player. So I bounce some ideas off of him after I kind of get my campaign to a certain point. So if you haven't, please go check out his channel. I'll have a link to his channel in the comments below. You can see him play through campaign. He also does a lot of lore, hence the name Lore Master of Sotek. So you can see his streams and whatnot on his channel. But our subject for today will be the mighty Malus Darkblade, the other portion of the Shadow and the Blade DLC. So this is actually quite an interesting campaign. I'm not going to lie to you guys, I don't really have a set blueprint for success as far as, hey, do these 5 steps and go in this direction and you're always going to succeed. I'm pretty much going to tell you what I did and what I liked, because this campaign is very much a dealer's choice. It's really wherever you want to go. Once you really solidify the Sea of Dread, the entire map is available to you. As long as you're doing your missions and your shipments, you don't need to worry about it. So let's do this first. We're going to place the Master here into Malus Darkblade's army. We're going to get Malus on the edge of this, and then we're going to attack with Black Ark Corsair. Now, unfortunately, I would never ever recommend you guys auto-resolving, but I'm doing it for the sake of this video. Go ahead and auto-resolve there, get that Pyrrhic victory, and we will, we'll just auto-resolve for the sake of this video. Now, keep in mind, well, I guess we'll talk about this first. We're going to go ahead and take the money. It's never, ever, ever worth it to do this unless you particularly want a challenging campaign. But take the 20k, get the growth increase here, and give up Hag Grave. You will lose the army up north in Hag Grave, but that's okay. So take the money, take to Monet, and enjoy what you got. So it is unfortunate the way that this works. You cannot attack with Malus first, so it does kind of deny him a level, but that's okay. We'll deal with that in due time. But I would say take these things, put them in your army, put him outside, and drop him inside of your town. Now the reason why you do that is because if you take a look over here at your possession, you will decrease your possession amount if you're within a settlement or if you drank an elixir. You will increase your possession, which is again the unique mechanic for Malus Darkblade, if you're outside of a settlement on the end of a turn, and if you go ahead and do any of these Zarkan Whisper special quests, which we'll talk about in a bit, and if you do any kind of demonic abilities in the middle of a fight, will obviously increase that. You'll also see the edges of this turn this pinkish, or not pinkish, this purplish bluish hue as Zarkan whispers into your mind. So it's pretty damn scary. So the Tower of the Sun, though, the nice thing here is each one of these is going to have ports. So what that means is you will automatically get access to Black Ark Corsairs with handbows, and you get access to Dread Spears right out the gate. So you have the ability to make a pretty decent army right from the start here. So what you should do is just not click everywhere. Get yourself some more, I would just go Black Ark Corsairs and more handbows, maybe one more Dread Spear. Yeah, no, let's just go one more Corsair handbows. They're very strong, and they're quite good in combat as well. Now, if this is your first time playing a Dark Elf campaign, this is the new and revised Black Ark, and it will move and gain levels just like you do when you get Vampire Coast, only this guy cannot go on land, but he can attack coastal settlements, so it's quite nice. Now, obviously you want to be progressing up this chain as fast as you can. That's the same thing for any Horde style army. You always want to go for that big growth building. It's like the same thing for Vampire Coast, it's the same thing here. We're going to go ahead and build that Black Ark up. And we'll go further into how you should be building that up once we get into the second portion of this video. Again, if this is your first time tuning in, the way I do these videos is we'll talk about the first couple turns in here, and then I'll jump over to a point which is around 25, or turn 30, around that point, to show you the result of some of the things we're going to talk about here today. So we'll get that all set up, and we'll go ahead and we'll do our research too. We'll talk about that as well. So this has changed. In the past, you started with this by default. Not anymore. So what I'm going to recommend for you guys is Obviously, you want to do this as your very first technology. But then battle as business, because you will be doing some raiding and post-battle looting, obviously. And this one, chartered piracy. Now, this is going to help you because it's going to increase your income from sacking settlements, but mainly it's going to reduce the upkeep of your Black Ark Corsairs, which are going to be the mainstay of your army, especially in these early turns. From here, though, you can really go any number of ways, and I hate to kind of repeat this over and over again throughout this video, which I know I will, but it's very much dealer's choice in this campaign. Go through the technology tree as you see fit, focusing on the things that you want to focus on for the way you want to build your army. Some stuff really stands out, though, if you were to ask me like how I did mine. I like Revel and Suffering to get that growth benefit. This one, continuous slave supply, because you have access to 3 supports right off the bat, so you might as well take advantage of the income increase on them. Founded on Tyranny is also as great, well, because you're going to stack that 25 growth between these two, which is quite nice. I personally find these not as worthwhile because you really kind of get rid of your Bleak Swords and Dread Spears quite quick in a Dark Elf campaign, especially this one, because you have access to building out your Black Ark quickly to get access to higher tier infantry, cavalry, so on and so forth. I think the big thing in this campaign for me personally, because if we take a look at, well, we'll look at it when we look at his skill tree. When we take a look at Malus, you'll see his skills. They really kind of hinge on Cold One Knights, Dread Knights, Cold One Chariots. So Broken by the Lash is kind of an auto pick for me when it comes to upgrading this next tier, followed by, which one is it? Oh no, Broken by the Lash. This is the one I was looking for, the speed increase. But followed by that into Daylight Denied. It's going to give you a 15% increase to your iron mines, gold mines, and stone quarries. We'll talk about why that's important in about 2 seconds here. But go through this as you see fit. If you're really trying to stack up all the bonuses you get from Cold One Knights, your next one is going to be over here in Bread and Captivity, which increases the recruitment ring. So there's really not a whole bunch in here that you need to really absolutely focus on. You can really buff up your beginning tier troops very strong by going through some of these technologies that increase armor and whatnot of Dread Spears and what have you. But I think it all comes down to what specific units you want to have in your army. Go for the technologies that focus on them. That's probably the best way to do it. Now, like I was saying about Daylight Denied, iron mines, gold mines, and stone quarries plus 15%. Well, boom. Let's take a look at here. The Tyrant of Hag Grave. Now this is, of course, the mighty Malus Darkblade's unique faction effect. Now he gets an income from iron mines, gold mines, and marble quarries plus 30%. Stack that with that research, that's a plus 45%. So no matter where you go in your campaign, make sure you're really looking for something on the map that has gold mines, that has, I mean, there's gold mines over here, there's quarries over here, there's iron mines over here. I mean, there's a gold mine right here, but we all know who's there as the mighty Lokir Fellheart. So if you want to go oust him on turn 1, you absolutely can, but it is a little bit harder and riskier of an operation. So we're going to go ahead and end this turn here. I'm going to bring us through here, and we'll see Big Daddy Malekith doing some action. I unfortunately forgot to do the little camera thing here, so we'll go over that in case you, again, this is your first time, and I want to make sure you have all the tips and tricks. Look at that revised turn time, so fast. So, Hag Grave, set yourself to fastest. That allied factions to fastest as well as off. That way we're never going to get pulled up there every turn. Enemy factions, the same thing. Just be, mindful. Watch the campaign map. Don't get snuck up on. And lastly, neutral factions. Set that to off. Set that to off. Set that to fastest. Set that to fastest. And one thing I know a lot of people ask me about is this. Throw out just enough here. You can see Malus Darkblade, Admiral Leech, Aurelia. That is this right here. I've ticked character names. It just makes navigating a larger empire a lot easier. So now that we've kind of gotten the Tower of the Sun, a good next move here is to take over Tor Elessor. I find that to be just a higher priority than the Tower of Stars, just because this is an actual provincial capital. So we'll bring this, actually in a funky stance. He's in his dancing stance. Let's bring him over here. Him. This is kind of tricky. You kind of got to get real close here. So he makes pretty much landfall right there. We'll see if we can do this through auto resolve. Again, I'm just kind of trying to push us through this a little bit quicker. Another way you can do this is if you just build up this guy's army again and you have him attack Tor Elessor, or if you have him do this. Here, I'll show you. Go through this turn real quick. This is a way you can kind of work around the whole BS of, okay, you've attacked here, maintain the blockade, click here, do this, and then we'll see if this works. It might not. Okay, we won. Pyrrhic victory. That's good. So we'll just occupy for the sake of this video. I think occupying is the right choice for this initial settlement. I think it's a good way to go about things. And then essentially you want to build this army back up through replenishment. You'd go over here and then you would take the Tower of Stars. And like I said, you'll have access to these level 1 buildings immediately, as well as your Black Ark Corsairs. You have a nice, really strong output. And in these locations, I don't think you need to really worry about your overall production of military buildings. I think the big thing for this first initial settlement is just focus on public order. Focus on, well, I'll bring up the builder here. Focus on your public order. All of your infrastructure buildings, basically. You want your torture posts up as quickly as you can. Then I would make a slave pen in your capital here of Tora Lesor, and I would set this to request additional slaves. And that way you're bringing in as much income as you can from Tora Lesor. And then in addition to that, go with the growth buildings, and we'll explain why those growth buildings are so important when we jump to our second portion of this video. And, Artisan's House. Just focus on that infrastructure, focus on walls in each one of these locations, especially your Tower of the Sun, because it has a Scroll of Hecate building. You can see right here the Temple of Hecate, as well as the Garrison Temple of Hecate. Now this will give you, of course, sorceresses and black dragons, which is quite strong, but you need to be producing scrolls so that you can move yourself through the necessary shipment portion of Malus Darkblade's campaign. And we'll, again, talk about that in just a little bit here. So as you do that, I mean, there's no real trick to your initial starting army. Just fill it up with as many units as you can, because I think the name of the game for Malus Darkblade in the beginning is a rapid expansion. Try and gobble up as many territories as you can to make for a stronger initial power gain. If you take a look at this now, we're almost at a full province by turn 5. You should be able to get here by turn 5 or turn 6. The Tower of Stars, if you take a look here, doesn't have much. If you really want to be tricksy, you can do this and give him all these units and just send him up there to do your bidding. That is a way to do things. Now, of course, you won't have an army as beat up as this, because you won't be auto-resolving as much as I have. You'll be a lot more sustained, and you'll be able to do way more damage and be a lot quicker. Because my armies have auto-resolved, they're beat to shit. So don't do auto-resolve. Always fight your battles, especially in the beginning portions of this. The only time I'm going to tell you to auto-resolve is the very first fight for Rapunzel, and it was unnecessarily hard. So let's go ahead and jump over to the second portion of this video, where we see things a little more progressed. And from there, we're going to talk about army builds. We're going to talk about the skill line. Actually, you know what? We're going to do the skill line right now, since I've realized we've got another rank here. It's easier to see on a non-completed skill tree, I think. So your first focus, your first primary focus for Malus Darkblade is going to be the blue tree. You want Elven healing as fast as you can. The 15% casualty replenishment rate is going to come back huge. And again, we'll explain why casualty replenishment rate is so huge in the second part. So you want to get to casualty replenishment as fast as you can, but you also really want to take advantage of some of your specific abilities. So you don't unlock your special chain until level 4. So I'd say, go into this line, whatever one makes the most sense for how you want to play. I think Serve or Die is pretty good, because you can get some pretty cheap units brought in early. Dreaded Slaver is okay. It gives you some additional casualties captured per battle. I don't think it's as important. But Infamous Raider is probably the best of the lot here. So I would say Infamous Raider or Serve or Die. Then go through Draft Master, pick up Lightning Strike, and then get 4 or 3 points into Elven Healing as you see fit. But once you get level 4, though, pick up the Slumber. And then once you get rank 5, get this Supernatural Issue. I mean Tissue. He's not an edgelord. It's Tissue. For this is the 30% replenishment rate just for Malus, and that's important here because we want to keep him at a high replenishment rate. Once you get that at rank 5, I'd push through these once you unlock them. Rank 6 is Cold Heart, and that helps you with Vigor, Attrition, and Campaign Movement, stacking with your Route Marcher to 10%. Drakau Tyrant is also very strong because it's going to help you out with any kind of loyalty issues. It's going to stack with the upkeep bonus you're going to get from Renowned and Feared to 18% reduction in your upkeep. And then Contempt and Hatred is going to make you a veritable one-man army. So you really got to grab that one as well. As you progress through things, you can get stuff like Beast Tamer. Once you have more of these units in your army, don't feel like you have to jump on that immediately. But Sadistic is quite nice as well for its good AP, melee attack, and charge bonus. As well as Eternal Hatred. You will be dealing with quite a few High Elves and get Spite as fast as you can as well. So, to recap, work on your blue tree until level 4. Then get the Slumber, followed by Supernatural Issue at rank 4 and then 5. And then rank 6, I would go for a Cold Heart. I would then jump into this at 8 and jump back down to blue in between. And after rank 8, finish out your blue line as fast as you can. Get Contempt and Hatred when it does open up. You can jump into the Waking real quick if you find yourself not going into Zarkan as much. But the big thing with Supernatural Issue is that it gives you that casualty replenishment regardless of what mode you're in. The Slumber is focused more on bonuses if you are Zarkan, versus this is focused on more bonuses if you are not Zarkan. So missile defense and melee defense, as well as stock if you are not Zarkan. But these are useful. I just think that the Supernatural Tissue is going to be is way more important. Now, as far as red tree, once you finish off your blue tree, I would go into Night Lord real quick if you're going to be focusing on Cold One Knights. That was my personal preference for my campaign. If you don't want to, do not do it. But I think as a whole, you do not need to jump into the yellow line as fast. He is very strong on his own, much like Tyrion. Tyrion is very, very, very good in combat without even going down his yellow line. But I think when you do, focus heavily on stuff that's going to increase his weapon strength, maybe Blade Master, because he already has a substantial amount of attack and defense, both at 60. So you're not going to be really hurting in those departments. Melee attack is just a little bit better, in my opinion, because you're going to kill things a little bit faster. Then get to Wound Maker. You could do Blade Shield to help out with that, but I think Full Plate Armor is a better buy in this situation. And then lastly, Deadly Onslaught. So that kind of fills out his skills. Again, this is really buyer dealer's choice on this one. You don't feel like there's any wrong issues here, or I'm sorry, any wrong choices here. I think Night Lord is a big focus as far as red tree goes, and Supernatural Tissue is again a huge focus. But let's jump on over to the other portion of this video where we're a little bit further in the campaign, and we're going to go over basically what kind of army construct makes a lot of sense. We've already done your technology, so we're going to talk about diplomacy, possession as a whole, whispers, and then the shipment system, which is this very top one we haven't gone into just yet. All right, so here we are on turn 25 of my Malus Darkblade campaign. Now, I made the choice to move northwest here to the Jungles of the Gods. Now, if you do decide to do that, you will get a quest that'll tell you, go take the Caverns of Sotek. Do that quickly, because the big thing here is that the, not the Cold Ones, what are these guys, the Last Defenders? Yeah, Last Defenders will move down this whole entire side of the coast very fast. So if you take the Caverns of Sotek, this will already be held over by the High Elves, so you don't have to worry. Then double back here onto the Temple Avenue of Gold, because it'll still be held by Clan Morskatar, or whatever is over here. I think it's Clan Molder, actually. It has control of this. So you'll be able to get these two places quickly, and it'll grant you access to a gold mine. You can already see here, I mean, I'm getting 2,300 a turn on turn 25, so we're in pretty good shape. Now, that's my preference. You do not need to go there. You can go all the way over here if you want. Take out Lokir Felhard. You can push over here into Khalida. It's whatever you really want to do. Do not look at this as the limitations of this campaign. It's honestly dealer's choice. So now that we've kind of talked a little bit about the skills and buildings, let's talk really about how to combat possession, and as a whole, what I mean when I talk about that casualty replenishment. So there's 4 big things you want to focus on for your casualty replenishment because of possession. Once you reach level 10 in your possession, it'll tell you, hey, your casualty replenishment is not minus 50%. So your army is not going to replenish. So if I press this button, allow full possession, you can see minus 50% casualty replenishment rate. So my army right now is not going to replenish this. We just took this over, so they're not going to go back to full health. But the way you combat this is, again, Elven Healing for 15%. Then you want to get a growth building. Let's go here for 4%. You also want to help out as much as you can from here. I can't remember the building. Here it is. From the Estate of Masters, which is an additional 4%. So between those two, that's 8 plus 15. You're at 23%. And you're also going to want to focus on a Death Hag. I unfortunately don't have one in this playthrough right now, but a Death Hag will increase your casualty replenishment rate, helping you to significantly neutralize this percentage right here. Because once you do that, you don't need to worry about being in Zarkan mode. Being your full possession isn't really going to hurt you. You will deal with loyalty, but I mean, that is what that is. You can counteract that with some rights and some other fun stuff. And we'll take a look at rights in just a second here too. So be mindful of that. Get that casualty replenishment rate up fast, because once you do, you don't need to worry about dropping as much money on your elixirs. Those elixirs increase in cost every turn and every use. So careful with just popping these every 10 turns and needlessly throwing him into battle. You want to really make sure you're not sinking money into this for faster than you can even make it. Now there's another thing here, are Zarkan's Whispers. These are the special missions that are offered to you that will net you certain things. Now they do kind of pull you in wild directions, like for instance this one's going to take me all the way up to Quodal, all the way to the hell up here. Now, but it will give me Yasmir. Now this will increase my local recruitment capacity by 2, and on turn start lords in this character's region have a chance to gain 1 loyalty. So my advice to you on this is, look at what the reward is. If it's a follower or an item, more often than not, that is a very OP item or follower. Sometimes it'll just be money, and it oftentimes isn't worth it because it's going to pull you into a needless war. But sometimes they'll just auto-complete for you. So really take a look at these every time they pop up. Make sure that, you know, the juice is worth the squeeze, as they say in France. And go for ones that aren't going to pull you too off base. It's really, again, unfortunately, guys, dealer's choice on that. See where you're at in the campaign. If that location is way far out of your way and the reward's not really worth it, don't bother. It's not going to make a big deal for you. I think I had one, though, that was be at war with the Reforged up here. And, like, Malus just destroyed them immediately and brought me into war with him. So he completed it on his own. So some of these, again, will get completed on their own. Just kind of let them take their own time and do what have you. Now, the other mechanic that I want to go over here real quick is the shipments mechanic. That's these little guys right here. Every time you reach, so once I reach, collect 500 to send this shipment. Only after sending all 5 scroll shipments will Malekith grant you the means to free you of the elixir's cost to complete the campaign. And this will play very nicely into me talking about armies now. So once you accrue 500 scrolls, it auto ships. You don't get a choice. So you have to really watch this. See how much you're making per turn, and really gauge how many turns you've got until the next shipment, because the first and second shipments are actually not too bad. And when you do the first and second shipments, you'll see what happens. A Skaven army is going to spawn very close to Malus Darkblade, and they're going to be hyper aggressive. They're going to go right for him. So when you are nearing those shipments, especially shipment 3 and 4, I would recommend getting to like a major settlement, or a major settlement with walls. Like get to one that you know has got the big garrison, and wait, because they're going to beeline right for you. They're not going to really bother with a bunch of your buildings. The point is to assassinate Malus Darkblade. It's not to destroy his empire. It's just to kill him. So they're going to beeline for you. And the big thing on your 3rd and 4th shipment is that they're going to be unbreakable Skaven lords. So kill those lords as fast as you can. My tip here, and this is going to, again, let's spiral now into talking about armies. My tip is then get a, this is a dark sorceress. Well, you want a sorceress of death, because Spirit Leech can kill a master assassin in like 2 casts. So you want a sorceress of death to focus down those lords, because they will be unbreakable, and if they're unbreakable, it's going to make getting rid of that army way harder. So get rid of that, get that as fast as you can. Now, your army comp, again, unfortunately, dealer's choice. My opinion, though, take advantage of this. Scion of the Dark Crag, get your increase or a reduction to the recruitment cost for Cold One Knights, and the upkeep reduction by 50% for Cold One Knights, Dread Knights, and Cold One Chariots. Further that with the Beast Tamer ability here, which is going to increase their charge bonus. So you might as well take advantage of that, especially with Night Lord here. You're going to increase their melee attack and melee defense. My personal opinion is stack those up. Get yourself a lot of Cold One Knights and Dread Knights. And the big thing here is, especially for shipments 3 and 4, you want to have access to a lot of cavalry, Dark Riders, Cold One Knights, Dread Knights, and range units. So Dread Spears, Black Arc Corsairs with handbows because they can fire while moving. A lot of that stuff because you want to hunt down those elements of the army. They're going to be, every single one of them is going to be themed. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That final shipment, I believe, will have Deathmaster Snick, which I can't remember 100%. But the first 4 are themed for the clan. Clan Moors, Clan, I think Scryer is next, then Mulder, and then Eshin. And that also, this is going to play very well into the diplomacy. It's like I had this all planned out somewhere on a piece of paper right next to my hand. I do. So each one of these is going to be themed after a specific clan, and that's going to be the bulk of the armies that fight you. The latter ones are Eshin themed, so you'll be dealing with a lot of Night Runners, Gutter Runners, and Death Runners. So that's why you want high mobility. That's why you want to deal with a lot of range units to really help you take care of all of them quite quickly. So before we jump into diplomacy here, let me make sure. Of course, you want to make sure that you've got that Death Hag in here as well. That will take up a slot, as always. Cold One Knights being a big priority here as well. So let me just looking over my notes here. Okay, yeah, the last thing is really your diplomacy. You're obviously going to be allied very well with Nagorond. So take advantage of that. Get the trade from it. It's not going to be substantial in the beginning, but it will spiral in your favor. You can develop more public relations with other Dark Elf factions around here, but I wouldn't really worry about it. One thing, though, and this is going to happen within your first 20 turns, is focus on this. You wouldn't think that the Skaven clan that just attacked you would be a good idea, but it actually will be. So Clan Moors is going to be discoverable right after you beat them in their first shipment. And yeah, sure, they're not going to be your best friend, but take a look at this. They're already positive towards you because we are at war with the Fortress of Dawn and the Beastmen. And you're going to probably attack the last defenders if you're where I'm at. So it's only going to increase your faction standing with them, so you might as well, let's even see if I can do anything. You might as well take advantage of this. Well, couldn't get a non-aggression pact, but still, the next Skaven clan is going to reveal itself to you too, and take advantage of that. You can build up a lot of diplomacy with those Skaven factions quite easily, so that'd be my recommendation for your diplomatic relations. You can try to do other Dark Elves, like I said, like Lokir or anywhere in Naggaroth. You might be lucky with some portions of the Vampire Coast, but really judge it based off of where you're going to expand in your Malus Darkblade campaign. Again, this is very much a dealer's choice campaign. It is a very hard campaign, though. I would say that of the DLCs of late, this is one of the hardest ones, even above Marcus Wolfheart. And I think it's because you deal with so many armies that will spawn next to you no matter where you are on the map and just go balls out or go Skaven out for you. So just kind of be mindful of that. If you're aware of that and you're keeping an eye on your possession and your casualty replenishment, you really should be just fine. The campaign, I think, is a little daunting to begin with, but once you kind of get a good system for things, it should be easy to kind of push through. Again, a huge shout out here to Lore Master of Zotek on helping me out with some of these ideas, helping me get my brain together and my thoughts together for this one. Huge shout out to him. Please go check out his channel. He does a ton of campaign. He is just the master of it. But I have no real other tips for you guys. If you do have any other questions, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. I'll get that answered here for you. We will have one more of these videos coming out on launch day, and that's for Réponse de Lyonesse. If you have not picked up Shadow on the Blade, you can see a link in my description below for the Fanatical Games link. You can go ahead and purchase it through there. I do get a commission, and you do get a Steam key, so it's a great way to support the channel in a pretty minimally invasive way. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one, and take care.